Hello, my name is Dale Maley. Today we're going to talk about the secret of how to make vertical wooden loops for 1-inch marbles. So let's start this off with a look at basic physics. Usually when you are building models where you're using, say, 1-inch marbles, you're limited on the amount of fall that you have for the marble going into the loop. From basic physics, if you go through the derivation, it comes out that the height, drop height, equals 2.5 times the radius of the vertical loop. But this equation ignores friction. So in the real world, you have to account for friction. So practical experience kind of says shoot for about 50% of that theoretical maximum radius. Now, if we use the 50% guideline, we can construct this table, and it kind of shows you as your drop height goes from 5 inches up to 30 inches, it shows you the theoretical maximum loop radius you can have, and in reality, using the 50% rule, what's the radius that you should use given your drop height. For example, 9 inches drop height works out to only a radius of 1.8 inches. Now I use Sketchup free drafting program for all my wood models. In fact, I've made another YouTube video which explains how to draw a vertical marble loop. You can check that out if you're interested. For this particular example, I wanted a 3-inch inner diameter, and the track I wanted to be just wider than the 1-inch marble, so that's 1 1/8, 1.125. And then I wanted 3/16 inch thick guardrails to hold the marble on the track. So you can draw it, but the tough part is how do you actually make it? Now, a gentleman by the name of Tardiff shows how he makes loops for smaller marbles in his YouTube video. And here's the address of his YouTube video. Now for his track, he saws out 2 pieces. He takes the front piece and actually saws it again into 2 pieces, and one of them is the top semicircular loop. He rotates that semicircular loop to cover the front and rear pieces. Then he sands the transition area smooth, adds the guardrail pieces, and sands those. Now here's a drawing that illustrates Ben's method, except he's using smaller, like 5/8 marbles, and I want to use bigger 1-inch marbles, so this is set up for 1-inch marbles. But the 2 pieces in yellow, he actually cuts those out first as one piece, and then he cuts horizontally there at the middle, so he can take the top circular piece and rotate it. Now, if your track isn't very wide, like 5/8, it probably works okay, but when you start talking about 1-inch marble and a track of 1 1/8 inches, you just get a terrible overlap at the left-hand side and right-hand side of that circular curve. And it's just really difficult to sand and make a smooth transition. So to make a better transition, I got the idea, why not on that top semicircular piece, why not make it thicker? So make it with a larger outside diameter and a smaller inside diameter, which gives you more material to clean up and sand and make a smoother transition. Now here's the process I used when I had that thicker top semicircular piece. I placed a 3/16 inch thick spacer between the front and back pieces and clamped them temporarily. Then I glued and clamped the top thicker semicircular piece to the front and back pieces. Once the glue dried, I used a Dremel and a drill press sanding drum to get nice transitions. And boy, I ended up with very smooth track. It really worked well. So after making this very smooth track, I then tried to glue up pieces of 3/16 thick plywood, often called Luan, to form the guardrail pieces. But I ended up with terrible transitions, particularly on the entry side of the top semicircular piece, with really no way to sand it out. So I started thinking about how do I make a better guardrail with better transitions. Well, I got the idea, why not instead of 3/16 inch thick Luan, why not use 1/2 inch, say pine in this case, and also make that top semicircular piece 1/2 inch, and then lay it on the track, and then hot melt glue it with some temporary supports to keep the form correct. Then remove it from the track. Carefully use a Dremel with a small drum sander or a deburr tool and sand a smooth transition. Once it's smooth, then you could glue the two front guardrail pieces back to the front of the track. I was hoping the 1/2 inch thickness would give enough stock to be. Now here's a photo of the finished loop. You can see where I used the thicker 1/2 inch thick pine on the front for the guardrail. On the back, I was able to keep using the 3/16 inch thick Luan plywood, and those transitions were okay on the back side. I just have a short piece of test track here in the photo. Now here's a photo of the same loop, just that I painted it with light green latex paint, and that's a 1 inch red marble to give you an idea of scale. So that's the finished loop. Now I have just 2 short videos which show the model in action. So let's summarize what we learned in this video. The video explains how to make a vertical wooden loop for marbles with a 1 inch diameter. And there's really 2 secrets to being able to do this. The first one is for the track, and on the track you want to make the top semicircular piece thicker to give enough stock to be able to sand smooth transition points. Then the second secret regards the guide rail or guardrail. And on the front, you want to use at least 1/2 inch thick material to give you enough stock to sand out smooth transitions. On the back, I was able to use 3/16 plywood on the back. So hopefully you learned something from this video and it helps you on your projects. Good luck with your projects. Thank you.